human factor, which the president already made reference to, that, you know, it is human beings that would declare this thing at the end of the day, and, you know, it is still human beings we have to interface with, which brings to the fore this question of human interference. You know, there's something you said, and I kept on saying, who is the question that needs to be asked here? You said this was the result of, you know, this was we saw this coming, it was going to be, this was the result which the process was tailored to achieve.
Yes.
And I'm wondering who was tailoring this process? That is the question that you haven't quite. When you say was tailored, is it tailored by members of the National Assembly? Were there external influences tailoring this process? Who exactly was pushing this, engineering it?
The answer is obvious. If the House of Representatives passed this amendment without any modification, they passed what was gathered from the public hearings and joint sessions and stakeholders' consultative actions. They passed it. Then the Senate did not pass it that way. They changed. And some people were saying that, oh, there will be now a conference and harmonization committee. I remember appearing in another television show in Arise News with Ruben Abati. They accused me of jumping the gun, that the process had not ended, that there will be a conference, there will be harmonization before the final thing is done. I told him, no, I'm not jumping because I know where it is headed to. Because I know that the House of Reps will not sustain its position. The Senate and the House of Reps...
You knew that already?
I knew that already because these are two sides of the same coin. The House of Reps is controlled by the APC. The Senate is controlled by the APC. And when they come together, my word in that interview was that it will be a case of people coming together to harmonize their interests. And that is what has happened. When they were prevailed to recant from what they had passed, they now came back to adopt what Senate did. And it is self-serving, it is to serve the interests of the APC. There's no way anybody can think otherwise. And for the fact that finally it ended that way, the prediction was right. If they were acting in national interest, there's no way the House of Representatives would throw in everything they had passed as, you know, their own bill, and joined the Senate to come up with this one now. And they started saying different things. Yeah, there's no surprise that it will be so. Anybody who was expecting the president not to assent to the bill is perhaps not honest to himself or herself. The whole process was predicted to end this way, and that's what we have seen. All the arguments or controversies that trailed the amendment, particularly the most controversial clause, that is section 63 of the Electoral Act of 2026 now. In 2022, it was 65. But the proposed amendment is section 63, which had to do with mandatory electronic transmission of results from the polling units to the IREF portal. What we had in the 2022 Act, which has now been repealed, was a transfer of results in a manner prescribed by the Electoral Commission. It didn't talk about electronic transmission there. The Act provided that the Commission, which is INEC, would prescribe the mode of making this transfer. And in the election that we had in 2023, the INEC prescription of that mode was contained in the guideline, which it made. It should be transmitted electronically. That's the guideline. But in the Act, it says it is the INEC that will prescribe the mode. And after the elections, of course, with what happened in the process of movement of those results from the polling unit to the final declaration of results, it became very contentious that that mode which INEC prescribed will be the mode of transmission of the result had a glitch. They told us because the results were uploaded and transmitted electronically, and then on that day, all the National Assembly elections, House of Reps and Senate, the transmission went without any glitch. The presidential election was said to have had a glitch. They couldn't transmit the result of the presidential election. That was what led to the litigation that went up to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court said that the electronic transmission of results was not known to the Electoral Act. Lawyers have argued, even legal luminaries have argued, that the prescription which INEC made that the result should be transmitted electronically was a power it exercised by the Act, which gave her the power to prescribe the mode. So it is lawful. The Supreme Court said otherwise, that electronic transmission was not explicitly stated in the Act. So that was what led to the failure of the litigations that went up to the Supreme Court. So that's what led to this proposed amendment, so that the electronic transmission of results will be provided for in the Act, so that the Act itself will recognize electronic transmission of results. And that's what the whole essence of this amendment, which went the way it did. So looking at the whole thing now, there is no way one seeing what played out in both chambers of the National Assembly, one will not be expecting that at the end the president will veto the National Assembly or say that he doesn't want to assent to the bill, because everything was tailored to meet a certain end.